The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
this is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. Sunny day here in Southern California, a place that our guest lives sometimes. He also lives in New York, and he's on the Subway Fresh Tech Hotline right now. Season 4 of Californication, premiering, I think, January 9th. When is it, David Duchovny?
Yeah, I think it is January 9th. I'm never good at that.
Yeah.
I want to say 8th or 9th, but I think it is the 9th.
Season 4?
Yeah.
Did you think it would get to 4 seasons?
No, I didn't think it was going to get past the pilot, which I thought was going to be a good half hour and a good character. But when you do these things, you never know. There's no rhyme or reason. I've been lucky enough I've done 3 pilots and they've all gone on. So I don't know. I don't know what it takes. Just luck for me.
You went 3 for 3?
I am 3 for 3. I don't like to talk about the first time at bat, but it did go. It did go a number of years.
Well, what was it?
It was called Red Shoe Diary.
Oh, yeah. I guess I didn't think of that as a pilot.
Well, you wouldn't think of it as a pilot.
Listen, you did some good work on that.
The pilot I actually acted in, and then as the series went on, I was just the letter reader.
Yeah.
You were acquainted with the show.
Listen, I thought it was basically you versus the guy from The Hitchhiker in terms of the narrators at the beginning of the show, and I thought you were better.
Oh, thank you. I had a dog. It helps.
So this show lasted 4 seasons. The last time you were on the podcast, or it's 4 seasons and counting. The last time you were on the podcast, you explained one of the reasons you thought the show was successful. And in case anybody missed that, I'm going to make you explain it again. Hank Moody, secretly attractive to female viewers for some reason.
Oh, that was discovered early on where we were kind of sitting around. I think we were shooting the finale of the first season, and producers and these kinds of people were sitting around talking about the fact they know these things about demographics. They know what sex, what age are watching the show, and they said that a lot of the viewers were female, and all of us who were working on the show were surprised.
Yep.
And then it was pointed out to us that the women really rule the world of Californication, that Hank is enthralled to Karen, his longtime love, and his daughter, and then to Mia, who he gets manipulated by, and he's constantly under the thumb of some woman or other. So he appears to be this free-ranging, rampaging dude, but actually the women are running the world of Californication.
He's the anti-hero.
Is that what I said before?
I'd say, yeah, it was a condensed version of it. I liked it. The thing with this show, though, with shows like this, you got to keep pushing the envelope. It's almost like professional wrestling, where the guy, he climbed up to the steel cage, but now he's got to climb up to the top of the scaffold. You just got to keep pushing it.
Right.
This show pushed it from season 1.
Yeah.
So how do you keep pushing that when the envelope has already been blown to smithereens?
It's tough. I don't have to do it because I'm not writing the show, but it is tough, especially in the world of cable, which is where we're at, because you don't know when you're actually shooting the year that you're doing. For instance, last year we didn't know if it was going to be our last year. We still don't know. We'll probably get picked up after the show airs next week, but we don't know. And when you're doing it, you don't know. Whereas on network, you have a pretty good idea that it's your last year, and you can kind of gracefully exit or go out with a bang, or however you want to do it. And so every year we go up to do our season, we kind of make it as an ending, because we just don't know. We try to, without killing the guy, you know, we try and go as far out as we can with a satisfactory ending to not only the season but the whole show. So it's kind of it's an interesting exercise every year to conceive of it as the end.
So every year you have an end of the season wrap party, and you actually don't know if you're never going to see these people again?
Well, you don't know, but you have a pretty good idea. I mean, I assume that we're going to go 6 years. This is the 4th year, and I think that we've lasted this long. I think you get to go the distance in cable, which is about 6 years, and then it becomes financially not feasible for the company to keep on paying the rent for a show that everybody has gotten if they're going to get it at that point.
Well, and then the other problem, I don't know if this is a problem, it might be, but Showtime has kind of repositioned itself as this network with these strong female characters.
I know. I think we're giving it ballast in the other direction.
Well, yeah, I was going to say they might make Hank have a sex change or something. Start selling drugs out of his apartment.
I'm all for it.
I don't know where does it rank in the hierarchy of the Showtime shows?
Oh, in terms of
just in general, like what is their signature show? Because to me, it feels like almost like one of those starting rotations where there isn't like an ace. It's almost like you have the 5 strong starters.
I love when you bring in this kind of analogy. It's the way I'd like to think and talk. I would say Dexter is their ace.
Really?
But I want to say that their rotation is a little like Philly or Boston at this point.
Nice.
Where they have a strong 4-man rotation, and they might trade Daisuke or they might keep him.
So the thing about Dexter is Dexter can go 12-19 one season.
Yeah, well, but people love the Dexter. They love that show. And
I thought season 4 of Dexter was one of the great seasons of any TV drama.
Well, you see there, you understand that Dexter's a strong show. So I think that Dexter and Weeds, I think Dexter and Weeds were there kind of as the network was reimagining itself and getting to a point where it could actually compete with HBO as a creative force. So I think that those are the veteran aces, and I think Californication is like a next generation. Cole Hamels.
But if you guys go out, then it's
Hamels?
Yeah, I like the Cole Hamels. Yeah, if you guys, you're more like a Roy Oswald though. You're like a veteran at this point.
Yeah, we are. We're a veteran, and yet we're not the first generation, so we're kind of right there in the middle.
Well, if you guys go out, it's basically the all-female network. It's like Lifetime with nudity.
Well, yes, it's the Oprah Winfrey Network with I don't. Yeah, it seems to be that way. There's the not the L word, the C word, and I think they got a couple new shows this year though. Bill Macy is starring in one of them. So
that looks interesting.
Yeah, so they might. And actually, I don't know if you've watched any of the kind of teasers for the Showtime shows, but the Matt LeBlanc show looks funny.
I agree.
This show called what's it called?
It's a one-word name that's short. I'm going to Google it as we're talking.
Yeah.
I agree.
Extras.
It made me think that Matt LeBlanc is somebody that
funny in it.
We all spent a ton of time with, and then he's kind of been gone for a while.
Yeah.
Like I guess these guys, they're on a show that just generates crazy amounts of income, and then what do you do next?
Well,
Episodes.
I think
That's what it's called.
I
Episodes.
think he has. What's it called?
Episodes.
Yeah, I think he has. Obviously have the luxury to kind of sit and wait, and I think there's a certain amount of time. At least I found probably with the X-Files that you do have to kind of wait for that image to dissipate a little bit because people hold on to the big shows like that. So
you've shed that now, right?
Yeah, but it takes a while. It takes a while, and I was just up with the family north of Montreal, and we went skiing this vacation, and I still get the whistle. They whistle that song.
But you must love that.
Oh, it makes the hair on my neck stand up. I mean, it's like I want to just throw down, But the French Canadians, I don't know, they whistled it quite a bit.
It's probably just starting there because Canada's like 10 years behind on all the pop culture stuff.
Well, we actually we shot the first 5 years up there, but not in Montreal, but in Vancouver. But that song, it stays in people's minds. It's a virus.
I had a supernatural experience last week in Oklahoma City.
Give it to me.
I had
I'm an expert.
Stayed at the Skirvin.
I don't know what that is.
Which is I guess it's the nicest hotel in Oklahoma City because I went for a game and heard that
you were broadcasting.
No, I just went to check out Durant, see what he was all about, get a feel for the city, and
right.
I'm thinking about writing about something, but I'm not sure.
So first of all, what were your thoughts on all that?
It's a very small city, and it's like shockingly small. Like it's the size of Century City.
Really?
Yeah, but the team is the team is like the biggest thing that the city has. It's almost like a college town.
Right.
And it permeates every part of the city. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely is a city that deserves to have a professional sports team, where I'm not sure I would have thought that 5 years ago.
Right.
But they're just all in on this team.
And what did you think of Durant?
Thought hung out with him for about 15 minutes. Thought he was really interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, he was there was something really genuine about him.
Uh-huh.
And I think he's somebody who's close to his parents. His parents come in all the time. And just the way he handled himself was different than the typical athlete that you're used to. And I'm sure there are other guys like him. There are other examples. But somebody that actually made eye contact with you and asked questions. And athletes don't normally do that anymore. They're just like, oh, who's this guy? I got to put up with this guy for 10 minutes. And that was interesting. Anyway, so the hotel allegedly was haunted by this woman in the 1920s. Who jumped out the window. So I knew about this. I don't know if she played ball. I don't know if she's a Thunder fan. So I was like, yeah, put me on one of the ghost floors.
Really?
And the lady's like, oh, all right, you want to meet Effie? And then I got scared. I'm like, no, actually I don't. Yeah, that was the name of the lady. And so I went to bed, forgot about it. Woke up at like 4:15 in the middle of the night, and my blood's racing and my hair is standing on my arms. And
Did Effie jump at 4:15?
Well, I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
You're jumping on the end of my story.
Trying.
And I know something's wrong, and I can't figure it out, and I thought I heard a baby crying, and I thought it was one of my kids, and then I remembered my kids aren't babies anymore, and then I'm in Oklahoma City, and you're asleep, and it's kind of gradually coming together.
Uh-huh.
So I go to turn the light on, and now I hear this baby crying, and the baby's like, like that, and I'm freaking out, and I'm trying to turn the light on, get all the lights on, turn the TV on. And now I'm like, what just happened? There was a baby in my room. So I Googled Skirvin crying baby, and like a bunch of results come up.
Really?
And apparently this baby, she jumped out the window with the baby.
Oh. And I just got shivers.
And then it's like you read these stuff, and it's like people woke up between 4 and 4:30 a.m. And it's like, all right. And it's like, I'm a normal person, and I wouldn't have believed this story from somebody else, but it's like, I know this happened because I heard the baby crying, and I never wake up. Like, you could hit me with a sledgehammer, I wouldn't wake up. So now I'm totally in on the ghost stories. Now I'm TiVoing the Sci-Fi Ghost Show and all that stuff.
You know what? My favorite part of that story is that you could actually type in Skirvin crying baby,
and results came up.
Get a bunch of results.
Yeah,
that to me is the most interesting thing.
So
I don't know. Maybe they got some poor Bellman, 19-year-old pimply-faced kid walking around with a little baby recorder.
But that's what I was thinking. If they wanted to keep the legend going, maybe they could put a little recording in some of the rooms, and they could just kind of blare it. You must have had people come up to you all the time with UFO stories and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah. Mostly it was people would. And I just did this play in New York for the last 3 or 4 months, and when I would leave, a lot of the old I don't know if they're old, but a lot of folks that were huge X-Files fans would come to the play, and they'd wait after, and they still want to talk about that stuff. But so it was mostly very personal things, not so much like the standard UFO stuff, but stuff that happened to these individual people, that they wanted to share with me. And I would constantly say, I don't know. I don't know. I personally, I don't believe, or things like that. But there were a lot of almost sad stories that these people would come with. But a lot of the times, the most annoying thing would be, say I'd be in an elevator and it would stop for a moment in between floors, or it might lurch a little bit.
Yeah.
And somebody would go, hey, it's an X-File. And I'd go, no, you need a little more than that, actually. An elevator hiccuping is not an X-File, ladies and gentlemen.
You know what, though? Because I'm convinced, like, Hollywood is a lot about trends and things that we haven't seen in a while. Like, we're kind of ready for another UFO type show now.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, I would love to be able to do a third movie, and I hope we get a chance to do that. But I haven't. It's been all vampires, and then the zombies took over, right?
Right.
Now the zombies are kicking ass and taking some of the vampire people away. So I don't know what's next. I would never have guessed vampires at all. I'm still way behind, and I would have never guessed there were 4 shows on television about making cupcakes. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm not good.
I wrote about sports movies and how the genre has evolved last week, and one of the things that I thought was the reason for it, because they're just not making as many sports movies, and really the era might be over. One of the reasons.
Fighter, right?
The Fighter was, I think, one of only 4 that were made last year.
And Secretariat.
Secretariat, there's some movie called The Winning Season, and then the Queen Latifah chick flick, whatever, Just Right.
Queen Latifah played on a rock and jock basketball team with me back in the early 90s, and they ran set plays for Latifah. They ran nothing for me, so I'm a little bitter.
Is that true?
Uh-huh. They were trying to make her look good, and, you know, she wasn't that good.
That's ridiculous.
They were trying to make her look. And then the kid from Boys to Men almost low-bridged Cliff Robinson, and almost came to blows.
Wow. That would have led SportsCenter.
Well, if there was SportsCenter at the time, which I don't know if there was.
There was SportsCenter.
94, 95?
Yeah, there was SportsCenter back then. So,
Cliff Robinson, who was on my team, came back to the bench pissed at one of these Boys to Men. I can't remember which one.
Which Cliff Robinson are we talking about?
Trailblazers.
Trailblazers, Cliff Robinson.
Headband.
So, with the sports movies, I think one of the reasons is because TV's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we're seeing this in general, and the movie industry is starting to go. You either do these big, giant blockbusters,
right,
or you do these really cheap indie movies, and there's kind of no in-between movie, and if you're going to do an in-betweener, you're almost better off doing a TV series. Are you sensing that as an actor, like that shift?
Well, specifically with sports movies or in general?
No, just in general.
I think both. I think the thing about sports movies, and this is what we can talk about when you and I, you know, have a discussion about Bucky Dent or whatever. I'll send it to Dan. But what they'll tell you is that the American, quote unquote, American sports don't make money overseas.
Right.
You know, the baseball. Nobody's going to see a baseball movie in Europe, which is bull, because if you make a good movie, it's not about baseball. It's about the story. You know,
right.
Field of Dreams isn't about baseball. It's about the story. Bull Durham the same. A little bit more about baseball, but still a really good movie if you don't care about baseball, don't understand it. So that's a fallacy. But I think you're right. I think when independent movies kind of got co-opted by the bigger studios, they all have little independent arms now. They saw films like Sex, Lies, and Videotape that could be made for very little money and then score big like a lottery ticket. So they saw that as good business. So rather than spending $60 to $100 million on a movie, they'd make 10 for $5 million, and one of them would hit. So that kind of ruined independent filmmaking in a way when it became that kind of a business. And I think that what's happened in the last few years is, yes, if you're going to spend more than $5 million on a movie, if you're going to spend $20 million on a movie, you're going to have to spend another 30. If you want to make money, you're going to have to spend 20 to 30 to get it out. So if you're going to spend 60, why don't you spend 100? And if you're going to spend 100, why don't you spend 150 and really make sure that you're going to make that back? You
made that movie with Demi Moore, and I saw it on an airplane that I liked, and it easily could have been a television show.
Yeah, I mean, there was talk about that actually when we were doing it. I think it was Ashton Kutcher who was there on the set, was talking to the director-writer of it, and they were trying to figure out a way to make that a reality show, which I thought was a good idea, where you would put Jones's families against one another in different cities and see who rang up the most sales or whatever. And I thought that was an interesting idea. I don't know where it ever went. But yes, it is a good TV series idea, I think. I don't know, I didn't watch it, but off the top of my head, that show, The Riches, feels like it might have been a little like that.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Where you have these grifters, kind of like grifters, a new type of grifters. And it is a good idea for a television show. And they'd have to be on the run or they have to be moving,
Do you feel like you did that whole, it seems like every actor who hits big, they have to make a couple movies that they just make for the big paycheck, and that's it. No, like, some sort of superhero movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you did that? It seems like you avoided that for the most part.
Well, kind of, the X-Files was that already in a way, so I kind of had that, and it is a movie franchise in that way, so I had that, and I had to be careful of doing another one. I guess, I don't know, I guess when I made Evolution, it was trying to kind of tweak it in a different comedic direction, but still keep it, big Hollywood, a big kind of Hollywood blockbuster thing. But I haven't done I haven't done kind of another superhero type or whatever.
Or like, you're a cop, you're a divorced cop, and the building's going to explode in an hour, and you got to get there.
Right, Die Hard. Yeah, I mean, when they're done well, they're great, right? But it's hard for all those pieces to fall into place in the right way.
Yeah, we had two of them come out, Unstoppable and whatever the Rock movie was called. They came out within like 2 weeks of each other.
And they had the same title, didn't they?
It was both the one-word titles, Unstoppable and Faster.
It tells you absolutely nothing about the movie.
Yeah. Faster, I don't know what. Unstoppable, at least you could argue the train might have been unstoppable, and that's what. But Faster, I don't know what that meant.
Yeah, what was faster about it?
Apparently, Rock needed to make an action movie.
I think what
fast.
was faster was how fast it went away. Maybe that's what was faster about it.
Let's talk about. Well, do you any more Californication stuff? Because we got to get to the Knicks.
Yeah, Californication. Yeah, I think. Well, you know,
Rob Lowe's on the show this year.
Rob Lowe, Carla Gugino, who I'm sure you have something to say about.
One of my favorites. I feel like she's underachieved. I think she should have been a bigger
underrated.
Celebrity. She's underrated.
Yeah, Carla is well, I think she's very. What is it? It's not underachieved. She's just interested in a lot of different aspects of acting. I think she does theater, and I really enjoyed working with her. So I think I agree. I feel Carla is underrated.
Underachieved is a bad choice of words.
Yeah.
Maybe
underutilized.
It just feels like she never had that one movie that it seems like these actresses, they hit big with that one.
Right.
That pushes them to another stratosphere than they can do. And for some reason, it never happened for her.
Right. Well, it may in the end be the best way for her to go because she's good enough where she continues to work, and will continue to work without maybe having that signature film.
I do wonder if her name hurts her because it's a hard last name to say. And
did you think it might be a C instead of a G?
I don't know. I always wonder with names. Like sometimes it seems like actors, if they have the right name, that could be like 60% of the battle.
Well, like Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle's a great name.
That's one, and Willie Mays.
Kevin Durant is a great name. That just sounds like somebody who should be good.
It's not the top of the pyramid. I'm sorry.
Not for you?
No.
LeBron James, you like that one?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Kobe Bryant, Kobe.
Not
LeBron.
good. Not good.
You don't like Kobe Bryant?
No, because I don't get naming your kid after beef.
I think was the beef name before or after him?
It was before.
Are we sure?
Yeah, because the dad was, didn't he play overseas?
Yeah.
And wasn't Kobe born in Japan or something?
It's always weird to see him on a menu.
Jelly bean?
No, Kobe.
Well, maybe he was a food. He was a dessert, and he had to name his son after the main course. And
the Knicks.
The Knicks, they're okay. They'll make the playoffs, but they got to find some more people on the bench to play. And I know Amare is playing great. He's been everything. I'm scared that they're going to wear him out.
You sound shockingly realistic because the Knicks fans I know are like over the moon optimistic, and they're convinced Carmelo's coming and watch out and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if Carmelo's the answer. I mean, you look at those statistics behind the statistics, and Carmelo needs the ball and isn't that efficient scoring wise, right? He handles the ball a lot and tends to disappear when he gets it. So and he's not a great defensive player. So I don't know. I'm sure it would be better team with Carmelo, but I don't think they win. They win with that team.
I'm a little torn on it because I agree with you. He's not that good of a defensive player. I think he's a little bit of a ball stopper, and so is Amari. So you don't want to get in a situation where, okay, we're over half court. Whose play is it?
Well,
who gets the ball this time?
That's what it looked like Miami was going to turn into, and may have turned into, and it doesn't matter.
Because they just decided to start running.
Well, just because, if you're going to stop the ball, it's okay to stop it with LeBron James. It's okay to stop it with Dwayne Wade. It's okay. You still have a great team. But, Amare and Carmelo are not quite those two guys. I
was in the camp of I don't think it's going to make that huge of a difference if they get him. But then, you watch them play when they had that game where they played the Celtics and they played Miami 2 nights later.
Yeah.
And that's where somebody like Carmelo.
Yeah.
Now you can go to war. You have Carmelo and you have Amari, and both of those guys are going to be unafraid. Both those guys are going to feel like they're, the two best players on the court, even if that's not true. And I think that's, I've said this before, but I think That's been the best thing about Amari is that he really does think he's the best guy.
I know.
He's convinced, like if you said, Amari, on your life, who do you think the best 5 players in the league are? He'd put himself first, and then he'd put like LeBron second or whatever.
Oh, really?
He really believes
go that far?
I really do. I think that's how he carries himself, and whether it's true or not true, it's a good type of personality to have in New York.
At this day and age, they needed somebody. And I like Gallinari. I think he's got a huge upside. I think if he continues to grow and doesn't get hurt, he's got a lot of skills.
So you think, because the fans that I know,
they don't like Gallinari?
No, they kind of. It seems like they overrate him a little bit.
Yeah, you want him to be. You look at him and you think Dirk.
Right.
And that's not happening quite yet. So.
Because people are like, I want Carmelo, but I don't know if I'd give up Gallinari.
Oh no, I think
that's like, come on, you're giving up Gallinari to get Carmelo. Come on.
Yeah, and Felton is looking good. He plays hard.
Felton's been the shocker.
Yeah.
Because
the real shocker is Landry Fields. Come on.
That's true. I'm still not totally buying the Landry Fields.
No?
But I think he is who he is. I think he's one of those guys that we're seeing the peak of who he is already. I'm not sure how he gets a lot better.
I loved him. I
do love him.
He's moving without the ball. He's in the right place. He's making the right pass. He's playing basketball. He's
a very good role player, but I don't know how he gets better from that. Well, from what he is right now, I don't know how that goes to another level. Does that make sense?
Well, no, I'm not saying he's the second or he's a third or fourth best player on your team.
I think you need him to be like your 5th best player if you're going to win.
I like his name.
The great part is Felton, because I have a bunch of Knicks fans, and when Phoenix blew up their team a couple weeks ago, and it became clear Nash it could be available at some point.
Right.
The natural fit would be Felton for Nash. And what's interesting is that the Knicks fans that I know are like, I don't want to trade Felton. I like Felton. Felton's gonna make the All-Star team. And it's like, wow, you're turning down Steve Nash right now, but that seems how most people feel.
Yeah, I don't know. As much as I'd love to see Nash, I think he's only got a year or 2 left.
He might have 3. He's one of those weird. He takes care of his body.
Yeah,
he does.
He's been injured a long time, so I guess he's learned how to play that way.
I personally think that Carmelo is still coming, and it drives me crazy when. Everybody keeps saying the Nets is going to happen. That's where he's going to end up.
I want Blake Griffin.
Oh, you're not getting Blake. Settle down.
How much fun is that?
It's like one of those knock on wood things. Because he's a Clipper, everybody is just so scared he's going to get hurt that every time he goes up for an alley-oop, it's exciting, you're scared. There's an energy in the building that I've certainly never felt at a Clipper game.
I've never seen anything like his dunks.
Have you been to see him in person?
No.
It's mandatory for every basketball fan.
Is it?
Yeah. When he comes to, I don't think he's played the Knicks yet. Because you'll understand when you see it.
Does he smile ever?
He's one of those
he looks angry.
No, he's one of those. Business. He's all business. Yeah. All he wants to do is just dunk on people and get rebounds and any fast break, he's running over half court, he's pointing for an alley-oop.
I love that.
And he really wants to dunk on people.
But he's got the full game, right? He's got a jump shot and
the low post moves need some work.
What happens when he gets that?
He needs a 15-foot bank shot, the shot that Duncan has. That'll open up his entire game because he likes to face up and beat guys off the dribble, but everybody gives him that shot. Yeah. So if he starts making that bank shot, they'll come up on him, and then he'll be able to beat whoever. And he needs that 18-footer on the top of the key, which Amari has been making this year.
Yeah.
Religiously. How about Mozgov? He hasn't really recovered from the Griffin dunk.
Wasn't his fault. I mean, he was just there. It wasn't like he got dunked on.
It was trauma. He's like a trauma survivor. I don't think he's had one moment since.
He had a car accident. I've seen worse Griffin dunks actually on people who were trying to guard him. Mozgov, I think, was actually trying to take the offensive, wasn't he? Did he go up?
And he was trying to take a charge and did.
He got a shin in the mouth. I mean, Griffin was so high up.
So how many games have you gone to?
None.
What? You're in New York City.
I know. I've been busy. I've been doing a play every night.
I don't want to hear that.
I know, but also now I feel a little guilty about it because I don't want it to seem like I'm the fair weather friend. Like all of a sudden I'm going to show up.
No, you were going to games in the Marbury area. You have immunity.
Starbury.
You were there in 07 and 08.
I was. Yeah, I'm going to go. The next couple of weeks. I'm waiting for whatever team to come in.
How long does your play go to?
It's done. It went to the 22nd.
What was it called?
It was called The Break of Noon. It was this Neil LaBute play, a new play, and Amanda Peet, who you probably like as well, I'm going to guess.
I do, but she ruined Studio 60 when she got pregnant. I haven't forgiven her yet.
Okay, but
they had to rewrite the whole show because she got pregnant, and I still feel like that show should have made it.
And you think it was the pregnancy?
I think it was part of it, and then the other part was the network got scared and started giving Sorkin notes. You don't give Aaron Sorkin notes. Just let him do his thing.
Oh, that's a great writer right there.
You hire Aaron Sorkin, you let him do his thing for at least a year before you give him a note, I think.
Right.
So, yeah. So who else was in it?
That's all you'd know.
Well, then you got to go to Knicks games then.
I will.
Over.
I'm going to go to Knicks games.
All right. Because I think there could be a Knicks-Celtics 4-5 matchup, potentially.
You think, huh?
Yeah, well, it's because the Celtics, they lose a guy a week. So at some point, they're going to start dropping in the standings. And then I think the Knicks, it's not unrealistic that they could get to 5. And I think if Celtics-Knicks round 1, even though their chances aren't fantastic, I think actually, wait a second. Now I'm Joe Mead. Joe Mead?
Yes.
How does that division setup work? I always forget. Can the Celtics win the division? They can't go lower than 3?
I think that's right.
So it would be a 3-6 matchup. Yeah, this could happen, Duchovny.
Oh, that could happen, actually. I think Knicks is 6 or 7, yeah.
That would be pretty good. Because the Celtics and Knicks, I think it's been...
They match up well. That was a great game the other night.
It really was. And Amari, for some reason, has always done well against the Celtics.
See, that was a great game, but I don't understand the play call.
Which one?
At the end.
The 0.4 seconds left, trying to set him up for a catch-and-shoot 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand the call because it's not possible.
I actually I lost like about 2% of my respect for the Knicks fans, who I always thought were the most knowledgeable basketball crowd other than my beloved Boston.
Right. What, they thought it was possible?
As soon as he caught it, the game was over.
Right.
It has to be an alley-oop. And
volleyball it.
And Spike Lee, who's been going to games for 30 years, is jumping around like a maniac, like they just won the game. And it's like, don't you go to basketball games?
Yeah, but I don't understand the play call. Aside from that, aside from fan reaction, what
has to be an alley-oop.
I'm saying, if you're Mike, I don't get it.
Let's quickly do the Boston thing because there's been Boston now has become the hub of the cinematic universe.
Well, let me ask you one question before we get into that. Did you read Playing Their Hearts Out?
Who wrote it?
I don't know.
What was it?
It's about AAU basketball.
No, I have it, and I haven't read it. You liked it? Really,
really good. Sad. Horrible. I mean, I don't know if you know about this world at all, but it's pretty shocking.
It's not a good world.
No,
and it's caused, I think, a lot of the problems that we've seen.
Yeah, but the way these kids are kind of discarded too.
So basically,
good read.
I think to be a lead in a good movie now, you have to start practicing your Boston accent.
I know. I'm upset because it's a very difficult accent to master, and all these guys who were making these movies are from there.
Right.
They got the advantage.
And I'm so proud of them because all of those guys have really paid attention to making sure that there isn't a disaster along the lines of Kevin Costner in 13 Days or Rob Morrow on Quiz Show, where it's like this bad JFK impersonation.
Yeah.
Because JFK didn't really have a Massachusetts accent. That was like the funniest thing. He had some accent that had nothing in common.
Well, it was very upper class kind of Irish American. I don't know. Yeah.
It wasn't Boston, but some actors would fall into that trap of and
look at The Perfect Storm. Everybody. Some people didn't do accents. Some people did.
Yeah, you can't pick and choose but I think one of the smart things they did was they actually cast locals for some of the bit parts.
Yeah.
Because the Boston people, they have that certain grind to the voice that it's really hard for an actor to get.
It's very hard.
I couldn't believe Christian Bale, though.
I didn't see the movie yet. I hear it's great.
He sounded like, he really could have passed for a Lowell, Massachusetts guy.
He did it, huh?
Yeah, he did.
He got it. Well,
it's a good actor.
For him. But Boston is now the locus of all Hollywood movie making.
We took over sports, and now we're going for movies.
It's, this is the century of Boston. I think this is the Boston decade. I think I'm in trouble. I don't like it, but I'm realistic. I see what's happening.
I'm just glad that we were able to rally
Green
back.
Hornet. Maybe we need.
That's true. He should have an
He
accent.
should be the Green Hornet.
I'm just glad we rallied back from Fever Pitch, because it seemed like we're never going to come back from that.
Oh, thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
Because that movie.
Fallon didn't even try to have an accent in that.
No. Did Drew Barrymore?
No. They didn't care. But yeah,
I told you that Farrelly story, didn't I?
What is
One
it?
time. It was a really good one. I've been to a game for the Paw Sox. They have that great stadium.
Yeah.
It's a great place to see a game in Pawtucket, and they have a home run derby in their AAA All-Star game. I guess when they hosted it, and one year they hosted it. I can't remember which Farrelly it was, but he signed up for the home run derby. And obviously they might have heard of him, but nobody knows what he looks like. And he sent up this minor leaguer to hit for him.
Wow, that's a great idea.
And he just crushed the home run derby and won it.
And they were saying, "Congratulations, Pete." That's great.
Yeah.
Never heard that story. Are you retired from hoops, or are you still playing?
No, I'm coming back now. The play's done. I'm this coming Sunday will mark my return. I don't know if it's going to be covered by the media. I doubt it, but
probably light attention.
I'll be there.
My mom wanted me to mention that she'd never seen a Larry Sanders episode before.
Thank you for your comment on my balls, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. I actually had the marathon of the last season, which, of course, your balls were one of the breakout stars of. And my mom had never seen the show, and she loved the show, and she's a huge fan of yours. And then your balls pop out, and she
don't see any balls.
Well, whatever. It was a murky ball-like thing, and that prompted like a 1,000-word email from her. What is this show? This show's the greatest. Why didn't you tell me to watch the show?
Yeah, people don't know that show is the greatest. IFC is running the marathon, right? It's fantastic.
I got a lot of emails from, now it's a generation removed, so you have these people who are like in the 18 to 22 range who hadn't really done. The greatest thing about it is a lot of these shows you can start, first season isn't really the season yet.
Right.
And it's like, something like The Simpsons, you want to start in season 3 or season 4. But this show, you can start first episode, season 1, and just go through, and the quality never dips.
No, I saw the one where Hank thinks Vince Vaughn hit his car.
Right. It was, I miss it. It reminded me, because I hadn't seen those in a while, but they could totally talk me into a comeback. Like I was kind of thinking, they could at least do a TV movie for HBO here, where Larry Sanders, 12 years later, with all these guys. I don't know what happened to him. I
love Hank and I love Rip Torn and obviously Gary. I guess I would imagine they're probably going to be coming out with a box set soon.
It's out.
Oh, it is out.
Oh yeah,
the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you have it.
I met him at a party, and as usual, I never know what to do when I meet somebody that, is like in the pantheon for me. So how'd it go? Jimmy was there, and Jimmy knows him, and Jimmy was like, this guy, blah, blah, blah. So he kind of set me up, so at least Shanley was a little bit... Jimmy Kimmel, because they know each other. Yeah, and
well, I'd spoken to Shanley about you because I was saying, I think he was doing press for something, and I said you should do a podcast with Bill because I think he'd really like this guy.
So I went, and that was my thing. I was like, man, I'd love to have you come on a podcast. And he's from the generation where it's like, podcast, right? So what happens? And people can hear it on their computer? He was confused by it, so I had to explain it. But he was super nice, though. And
no, he's a sports fan. He's pretty knowledgeable about a lot of it.
I don't know what you do after you create that show. It runs its course and it leaves at the perfect time and you have the best final show anybody's had probably. Yeah. And then I don't know creatively how you bounce back from that.
I don't know. It's just that's one of the reasons why it takes a while. And also as I've said to you, is just the sheer amount of energy that it takes to do what he did on that show, which is to act, write, often direct, but really to run it.
Yeah.
It takes something out of you. It actually does.
They ran the pilot last night.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that.
The amazing thing about the pilot is the characters are all defined, like the way they eventually end up being in. Like, they did such a good job of figuring out who was who and who was going to be and what direction people were going to go. Right. It's all there. It's not like sometimes you watch pilots and it's these like thin little stick figure versions of who the characters become. And it wasn't like that with that pilot.
Well, that's often with pilots that you don't know who's going to. You might think you know who the main character is, but often the audience will decide for you eventually who they want to see. Right.
And like with your show, California, bringing it full
circle.
Clearly
they want to see the ladies, so.
Yeah, I think it would say the female characters became bigger as the show went along, correct?
Of course.
There you go. All right, Californication, January 9th, and come on before baseball season.
And I'm going to be in L.A. Next week doing my thing for the show coming out, so maybe we go to a ball game or something.
Yeah, Clippers. Take you to Griffin.
Yeah, I can do that.
When you do those press things, how long do they last?
A week.
You just do like 3 days? Oh.
Yeah, a week.
You sit in a hotel room and people come and they just.
Well, that's more of a movie, but with television at this point, it's more like I'll be doing talk show, daytime, nighttime, all that stuff.
Oh, good.
I know you watch Ellen, so you'll see me on that.
You got to do that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, good luck. We'll talk to you in a couple
minutes.
All
right, Bill, thank you.
All right, take care. All right, my buddy House went to the Winter Classic, and he is a 24/7 fan, and he's on the line right now. Joe House, what's happening?
How about the hockey guys? How great are the hockey guys?
Jay's going to have to bleep that now.
They're the greatest.
Stop it.
I love the game. I love the show. All of it is just great.
Jay, you have the bleep button ready, right? Jay.
Joe's going to listen to all this later, so it's up to Joe.
We got to have the bleeps.
Yeah, we do have to have the bleeps. Although it does seem like somebody talked to Bruce Boudreau between episode 2 and 3 because he toned it down.
It was probably his family.
His family was probably like, hey, Bruce, can you slow down on the F-bombs?
Yeah,
Everybody,
hey,
I go to the hardware store and everybody's asking me about them. Just stop. It was probably the single smartest thing that the NHL did, I'm going to say, since when? I don't even know.
Before the lockout.
It captured everything, every reason that we've ever liked hockey, this series captured. And the best part was that it was totally unfettered. And the NBA, because people are emailing me now, wouldn't this be great if they did it with the NBA? The NBA would just never let it happen. They would never let these guys, and they probably couldn't.
Yeah, and the reason is because what you would see is O.J. Mayo and Tony Allen fighting on an airplane over a few $1,000s that they're gambling, over playing cards.
Well, that's your worst case scenario. But, I think that there are some racial sensitivities. The NBA is so concerned about, selling a mostly black league to a mostly white audience that is the biggest challenge that they've had the last 30 years. They dealt with so much racism, I guess, in the late 70s, early 80s. Just people thought the league was too black and everybody was overpaid and on drugs, and that just was the perception. And that's just their mindset now. We have to present these guys in a likable light, and we can't kind of show their warts. But hockey doesn't care.
And I guess for a moment to suspend the snarkiness, there are lots and lots and lots of entirely likable and great storylines and narratives that would come out of the NBA. Like, I, for instance, would love to see a week with the Oklahoma City Thunder. A team of guys that clearly like each other, a bunch of young guys who genuinely look to be committed to winning and getting better together and look like each other's company. I think that would be a really cool thing to see. I'd like to see kind of Kevin Durant as a leader. I mean, that was part of the thing with the hockey. I never really had a feel for or a flavor for what kind of a leader Sidney Crosby was or what kind of a leader Ovechkin is.
Right.
But, it was such a brilliant and unvarnished look at, those guys in their natural element. And, full credit to all of them. It looked like none of them were hamming it up, which is kind of probably a testament to hockey guys in general.
Yeah, I agree. And, let's be honest, the NHL needs it more than the NBA, because we tried to do the association with Oklahoma City first, and they just didn't want to do it. And,
Yeah.
you know, we would have spun that in an entirely positive light, and we wouldn't have shown anything that maybe wouldn't have gone over that great, but they don't care. And I also think, you know, when you look at just NHL players and the Canadian culture in general, they're easygoing. They're not going to, you know, Crosby's the biggest star in the league, and he lets Geno Malkin come out after him in a lineup. And I don't think the NBA players are quite wired that way. It's a little bit more of a diva type league, and I don't know. It would put it this way, it would be fascinating if they ever did that show with the NBA, but I just don't think it's ever going to happen like that raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it would be terrifically cool. I mean, I'm going to hope for it because I think that, like I say, most of what would come out from the NBA thing would be enormously like positive and neat and revealing and reassuring.
Yeah.
But I was so stunned by the NHL experience. I mean, one thing that leaps right out is how international the league is. Like, there are guys from all over the world, and they all just come together, and they're just all like regular guys, you know, regular young kids who are out there busting their ass, all single-minded, same goal, same purpose. I mean, it really did. I tweeted this, and it sounds hokey, but it really did like rekindle my love for sport. It reminded me why I fell in love with sports in the first place.
Yeah, and especially like you see guys fight and they're mic'd, and as the ref separated, they're like, "Hey, good job, buddy." It's just a culture that you know you can't even comprehend.
Right. That was Ovechkin.
Yeah.
The fight that he undertook really to spark his team when they were in the midst of that losing streak. You know, he tried to light a fire under his guys in a game that they ended up getting housed in. But right.
I remember I wrote this like a year ago. It was just a theory, and it might not be true, but I do think with the way our culture is going, and the fact that, you know, it's a lot more in your face and the internet and people lashing out at other people, but you don't have to really see them, and UFC, and it's just the culture has changed in a way that hockey kind of fits it more than it did 15 years ago. You know, hockey's a rough and tumble sport. The guys are just tough guys, and they're good guys, and I
think the other thing that was so appealing, and this isn't my own original thought, although I did tweet it, hockey is so earnest. Like, there is so little cynicism about any of it. And you just made that observation about 15 years ago. It feels like it's kind of 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the commitment of the guys and how low-key everybody is and how focused they are and how there's no, like, divas at all. It's tough to even you see who the alpha dogs are, and you understand why they're the alpha dogs, but it's, you know, none of it comes like at the price of guys being, you know. Well,
couldn't this? It kind of ties into the fact that Canada is just underrated in general. It really is. I've never met a Canadian that I didn't like. Seriously. Name me a Canadian guy where you're like, hey, yeah, we had this friend from Montreal was in town. What a jerk. A total jerk. It's never happened.
Come up with one, right?
It's the way that they are. They're just good people. They're solid people. They're not pretentious. They're tough. You know, like the great scene in the third episode, which I thought the first two were better than the third, and I thought the fourth was the weakest because it concentrated so much on the outdoor game and all the nuances with it. But the third one had that guy who got popped in the face with the puck right after he had scored the goal, and you know, and he's crying after because the game meant so much to him. Meanwhile, his face is like disgusting.
Yeah, right.
And he just doesn't care, you know. It's like, man, I scored a goal. I don't care if I look like the Elephant Man right now. Well, imagine like Vince Carter getting hit in the face with a puck. He'd still be down. It would be 2 weeks later. They'd still be picking him up.
I mean, every one of those guys has some visible, you know, mark on their face, except for Crosby, which kind of speaks to, I think, you know, his skill level as much as anything.
I was making fun of Damashek. Well, Crosby, maybe God has decided he doesn't need anything else to happen to his face. I was making fun of Damashek. I take heat for Larry Bird being the ugliest superstar of all time. Crosby's got to be in the top 5.
Well, the mustache.
With the mustache.
The mustache didn't help.
I mean, as long as he's going to have the mustache, he's vaulting himself into the top 5. When he shaves it, he falls out. But for now, he's in the top 5.
Face. No, the mustache was great. I loved it.
It was great.
the irony of it and whatever he was trying to accomplish.
No, it's great. And the show made me. He was somebody that I had really no opinion on at all, and now I totally like him. I love that. One of my favorite scenes was when they were in the beds in the hotel room watching TV, and then the guy's like, all right, I'll see you later, and he goes into the other room, and it was like, it would be like if you and I were on the road playing a game. It's like, hey, you want to watch Real World? Sure. All right, I'll see you later. I'll see you tomorrow. Let's get breakfast.
It's in my contract to dislike Crosby. I really can't.
I know.
Him, but,
I know. You're a Caps fan.
But he made an impression. I mean, there were some guys on the Penguins that I feel comfortable openly saying that I actually, sort of like them. I really like Max Talbot. I like Matt Cook a lot. I mean, he was the one that was whining during the game a whole bunch. But
Geno Malkin probably vaulted into your top 5 most hated athletes after that show, right?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah. No, and he fits the same bill as Crosby. I don't need the contract though to tell me to dislike Malkin. I mean, there's a natural rivalry with Malkin and Ovechkin, and so obviously that's easy.
That part killed me when he was like, no, I go last. I played at super team for 3 years in Russia. Crosby's like, all right, dude, take last. I don't care.
Right. Go nuts. What
a show. And, I haven't heard them mention this because people are now, this is definitely the best 24/7 ever. And I don't think, I think this exceeded the potential of the other shows. They now need to do this for the playoffs. They need to bring these two teams back and just keep going.
Well, I was doing an email conversation yesterday with Matt Kelleher, and we were both talking about all the things that we liked about the show. And they can't bring it back soon enough. I mean, they can do the rest of the season from my perspective. It immediately vaulted into like the most compelling TV of the year for me.
Yeah, I got a ton of emails on it, and I can't remember the last time that hockey felt this culturally relevant with casual sports fans. Because hockey had been kind of going in a direction a little bit like the UFC. And I think ESPN is a little bit to blame for it because we don't have the contract and we don't really push it. And,
that's the weird thing. Nobody was really pushing it.
No.
Hockey for sure operates like football where the guys are in helmets and in uniforms that cover them up. So you really can't establish that intimate bond with them the way you see basketball players. You can see their facial expressions, their body language, and everything.
The league hasn't helped though.
That's
because
the point. That's
going to lockout didn't help. A year long missing a Stanley Cup playoffs didn't help.
Right.
And having too many teams doesn't help. And they still need to get rid of 4 or 5 of them. But this series to me showed why you have to get rid of 4 or 5 teams because this is a real rivalry. And this is what you need. You need 8, 9 rivalries like this in your league to really push it back to the level it was at.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you have to get the teams that resonate with folks 10, 15, 20 years ago back at each other's throats. You need Chicago, Detroit to not like each other. You need the Rangers to be relevant again.
Bruins and the Habs.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, Montreal made a nice resurgence last year. So.
Yeah. I'm excited for hockey, and, the playoffs were great last year until the finals were a little flaccid, but HD really helps it. The bigger TVs and widescreen. I would argue that widescreen helps hockey more than any other sport.
That's probably right because
it opens the ice up.
It does. It's so important to get that perspective following the game.
I would say Doc Emmerich is the single best play-by-play announcer there is right now.
I missed it. I was at the game.
No, I'm just saying in general.
Oh, okay.
For their big playoff games, he's the best.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. You can't argue with that.
I would put him. I'd put Marv second, but Marv's not even doing the finals.
And hockey requires such a specific skill set. The play-by-play for hockey.
The other good thing is the Crosby-Ovechkin rivalry is just cool.
It's real rivalry.
2 really different guys.
Yep.
That do different things, that carry themselves differently, and Ovechkin is just naturally more the villain, and he likes it, and he embraces it.
He takes to it. He needs to win. The Caps need to win one,
right?
For it to really take off and get as juicy as it can get, because right now, Crosby's got such the upper hand with the gold medal, and he's been to 2 Stanley Cups with 1 victory in there. So
Jacko and I were talking about it over the holiday break. it really shows you that hockey coaches just don't do anything. They just have no role whatsoever. What do hockey coaches do? What do they say?
They devise the lineups.
Oh, congratulations. So you and I could do that.
I think it's a pretty relentless game. I mean, it's clear that 82 games is probably too many games for hockey because of how physical it is. And you have to keep the guys up. You have to keep them, focused. And they're also, the thing the series pointed out is how fragile it can be. How fragile the team psyche can be, and how the team sort of collectively can catch a slump, and all of them together stay in the slump. And even individual leaders trying to goad the team out of it. It really points up kind of the arbitrariness of all of it. I mean, the Caps lost 8 games and then went 5-0-1 over the next 6. But I think the coaches, there's a huge motivational element in the lineups. And then, what do you want beyond that?
But I mean,
from X's and O's.
I think you could just hire a motivational speaker to coach the team. Just teach him the rudimentaries of hockey. Hey, look, you have to have 4 lines. Put your best 3 guys in the first line. Your second best 3 guys in the second line. Your best defensive guys in the third line, and just tell them to go out and play hard and keep it up.
I'm not sure that we have a good sample. I mean, we had the 2 best players in the league, so
guys,
I don't know how much coaching affects that.
Guys, I just need more energy from you guys, okay?
Yeah, we need more energy.
Yep, another bleep. Joe Beat's going to miss one of these. It's going to be great, too. I'm going to get tweets about it. So, Dave, as a Caps fan, what's it like? Because I've never had the luxury of seeing, I guess with the Celtics and the association, but it's so short. It's only 22 minutes. Like, this is like an unfettered look at your own team. Like, how do you feel differently about the Caps after watching this?
Well, it took what was already for me, almost a lifelong love affair with the team. My dad was an original season ticket holder in 1974. My interest and love for the team has ebbed and flowed over the years, and I've had season tickets a number of times. I had them when they went to the Cup in '98. They made the Cup Finals. I had them when Yager was here, and then I wrote them off entirely right around the lockout because they had to make the team terrible to get back on top, and it's a perfectly sound a way of rebuilding. But I just wrote them off because the combination of how bad the team was plus the lockout made me lose interest in hockey. But I really couldn't be more excited. It's the crazy thing is, like, the show and that game redeemed 2010 for me for, like, all of Washington sports, like all of DC sports. We had promise and hope. If you look back to January of 2010, what we were kind of looking at for the balance of the year, and as the year went along, there were a lot of moments of really, great hope for DC sports. The John Wall thing was great. The Strasburg thing was great. McNabb was great. Ovechkin entering, but then there were so many bitter disappointments to go along with that. Like, every one of those little propositions had a crushing, bad, bitter element to it. And then this thing at the end of the year really kind of redeemed it, and I'm so excited. I mean, I hope that this Capitals victory in that Classic isn't like the single best thing to happen to DC Sports this year, because, it's just winning a regular season game, and, it was cool seeing the team on a really extraordinary TV show. I really hope that's not it for DC Sports, but at least we have that. I mean, that's what I'll say.
Well, you have one more thing. You have the fact that the Wizard fans now boo Andre Blatch every time he says something dumb or does something dumb.
It was a long time coming. I mean, the DC basketball fans are pretty tolerant and have given the team a lot of leash, but I think everybody's kind of fed up.
Enough is enough, Andre.
Enough is enough.
Stop being a knucklehead. We're going to boo you every time you do it.
Yeah.
I'm with you on the DC, like, redeeming the DC sports scene. At the same time, the Strasburg thing was pretty brutal. Like, McNabb, whatever. You knew that might not work out. The Caps, they always choke in the playoffs. But the losing the Strasburg thing was just a killer.
Yeah,
I mean, especially if he doesn't come back. That was borderline cruel.
The single greatest moment in 2010 for me, sports-wise, as a DC sports fan, was attending his opening game.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. You know, I think I called you or texted you. We communicated, and I said, you know, I now get what it is when a great pitcher, you know, when you have a great pitcher. I completely understand it finally.
So you went to the Winter Classic.
I did.
And you said it was
great, by the way.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. I've said many times, Pittsburgh and Milwaukee.
Yeah,
are two most underrated American cities.
We need to get to Pittsburgh. We should try and do like a Pirates game and a Steelers game. We should try and, you know, in early September, do that little double doozer.
Remember we went to that wedding in Pittsburgh like a million years ago and like everybody hooked up? It was awesome. The Pittsburgh girls really came through. I love Pittsburgh.
Me too.
It's a great city. Yeah.
Blue collar mentality.
Pretty city.
I mean, really, you know, right there on the water, and they have done a fantastic job with the new sports stadiums. The baseball stadium and the football stadium are right next door to each other, and there's a great restaurant and bar area right there.
Yeah.
But they're beautiful facilities.
I could easily live in Pittsburgh and Milwaukee. For Pittsburgh, the thing that would bug me is the Steelers thing, just because of the Pats. Like, it's really tough to be an enemy country. But, I mean, I'm doing that now with the Lakers, so it's... And then Milwaukee, the summer, a lot of mosquitoes. Milwaukee.
Well, I don't.
It's a tough one.
Pittsburgh weather isn't going to do anything for you.
No, I'm talking about Milwaukee.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm saying I don't know that Pittsburgh's any better.
Yeah, you're probably right.
What you're going to encounter.
Primantes. For you, food-wise, Pittsburgh is fantastic.
God. Forget about it. That's absolutely right.
So it's worth going. But you wouldn't go again.
Yeah, it felt like a must go since it was, you know, the first time and there's only going to be one first time. The game itself, you couldn't see any of the game. You know, you had to watch the players to assess whether or not they were scoring goals. But it was a super atmosphere. It was so cool and people were so into it. The neatest, you know, there were like two takeaway moments for me. The one was, and this is hokey, I'm going to confess it right up front, during the national anthem, when the part where it says, you know, Rockets red glare in Washington, the fans yell red because, you know, we rock the red here.
Yeah.
And when we got to that part of the national anthem in Pittsburgh, there was a huge red roar. That was pretty neat. That was almost kind of a goosebump moment.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, you know, you looked around the stadium and all of the sections that had Caps fans in them were up on their feet, chanting. And, you know, otherwise you saw folks kind of streaming for the exits. That was pretty cool. I mean, that was that really sealed what a good decision it was to go to that game.
We have 45 seconds left. Did you see Jersey Shore last night?
I did not see Jersey Shore last night.
JWoww and Sammy had a rematch.
What?
Yeah, they fought at the end.
So this was the premiere of the third season was last night?
Oh, it was a tour de force.
Oh, I'm so disappointed.
Snooki brought some friend who basically was like a slightly cuter version of her with a little more busty. Ooh. And she was naked within 35 minutes trying to get the situation. And then that led to some bitterness with Sammy, and then the C word was thrown around a couple times, and Ronnie got upset, and there was a domestic violence possibility, and then all of a sudden, JWoww and Sammy, it was like hockey.
Wow.
They were kind of skating around looking at each other, and then they were just like, screw it, and they dropped the gloves. And
you want to go?
I don't even know what the impetus was. They needed to go. It was a tour de force.
I'll catch the repeat. We're in agreement that Sammy won round one. Who won round two?
You couldn't tell because they did the old cutaway closing credits thing, which
so annoying.
My least favorite TV trend of 2010.
And MTV, you know, in particular, deploys it far more often than they need to.
Actually, my second least favorite, because my least favorite is the fact that the Teen Mom stars are now like actual celebrities.
Oh, I don't.
And people keep saying, no, it's good. It's lowered the teen pregnancy rate. And it's like, how is this good that people who shouldn't be having babies are on TV and are becoming celebrities? Like, wouldn't other people want to emulate this, or am I just an idiot?
It's a phenomenon that's completely foreign to me.
I hate that show.
5 seconds of that show. I turn the channel immediately when I see it's on.
I hate that show.
I don't understand any of it.
We have to go. You have a lunch. We'll talk to you soon. Happy New Year.
I had a great time. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
I'll talk to you later.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at PodCenter at ESPNRadio.com.
Peace out.